Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Right Book Power Lunch. If you're watching us live now, thank you very much for coming along. We really appreciate it, and we're really happy to have you here. If you're watching this later on as a recording or a replay or something like that, then you're equally as welcome. But obviously, you won't be able to ask us any questions if you are watching this as replay. Our live viewers, if you've got any questions for anybody here today that you'd like to put to us, then you can do that by typing a comment in the box on your social media stream, and that will come through to us. And if we have time, we'll do our very best to answer as many as we possibly can. So my name's Paul, and yeah, welcome to this. We've been looking forward to this power lunch for absolutely, well, it feels like ages. I think we booked it all in probably about 2.5 months ago now. And these power lunches are all about kind of sharing knowledge and experiences, learning from others. And our aim is to really try and help aspiring authors, established authors, just to get more out of their books, to learn new ideas, some fresh perspectives, and to get the best, to get more out of their endeavors to promote their books. And this particular power lunch came as out of a blog that our special guest today, Clare Norman, published way back, I think in late August or early September. And she talked about all the lessons that she'd been learning after a year of being, after a year of publishing her most recent book with us. She published a couple of books previous to this one. So she was sharing all the amazing experiences that she'd had, and all the things that she'd learned around marketing and promoting her book over the course of that first year. And she shared them all in a blog, and we read this and we thought, oh my God, this is incredible. There's some really fabulous ideas in here. So we thought, let's get Clare on a power lunch and we can talk about more directly to her, and she can share this hopefully with a wider audience. And what really impressed us about what Clare was writing was a kind of pragmatic and business-like approach she was taking to marketing and promoting her book. It was understanding that whilst making some money from the sales was very nice, it wasn't really about that, and there were bigger objectives here for her. So we'll meet Clare properly in a moment, but first of all, I just want to introduce you to my very special co-host who's joining us today. You'll notice that our usual presenter, Sue Richardson, isn't here. Unfortunately, Sue's not very well, which is why Bev and I are doing this today. So yeah, just welcome to Bev. Hi, Bev.
Thank you very much, Paul.
You're going through this journey as well at the moment, aren't you? Of kind of writing and publishing a book of your own, which we're
yes, that's why I'm so excited to speak to Claire and find out more about how she's gone about promoting her book. My book comes out next February, so this is really good timing for me personally. So I'm really keen to hear her insights, especially, she doesn't see herself as a marketing expert. This is just a coach and author who has done her best and kind of found a way of using her book to build her business and extend her reach. So very excited to hear more about that.
Yeah, me too. And it's really nice to get this kind of non-expert perspective in a way. I think, learning from someone that's just been at the coalface of this over the course of the last year, learn from her mistakes, learn from her experiences, and now really wants to, share it with other people to help them do the same. So shall we bring Claire on without further ado?
Let's do it.
Okay, I have to press a button, which I think is this one. Second, and here we go. Hi.
Hello, Claire.
Thanks so much for being here today, Claire. We're really grateful and being so willing to kind of share what you've learned with our audience. As Bev mentioned, you're not claiming to be an expert in marketing books or anything like that, and these are just your experiences. And when we were talking earlier, you were saying how amazed you'd been at how many different kind of marketing techniques and tactics there are out there. But shall we start by just asking you to tell us what made you want to write that blog back in the late summer? What was it that kind of spurred you on into wanting to share those thoughts with people?
Well, it was coming up to my book's birthday, and I wanted something new and fresh to be able to share with people about what I learned in that year. So that was part of it. It was trying to figure out, well, what's some new content that I haven't shared about the book? Because when I had launched the book, I had shared all sorts of stuff about how we chose the cover design, how we chose the title, the writing process, the different publishing routes that I've been down before, and how I chose you guys. So I'd written all of that stuff previously as part of the launch process. And so I wanted and needed something different. And, it's kind of one of those questions that people ask. So whenever I get the same question multiple times from multiple people, I think, okay, well, this is going to make a good blog post, because then I don't have to keep repeating myself. I can just point people to the blog post. So that's where this particular one came from.
Brilliant, cool. And when you kind of set out, because is this the third book you've written? Second book? I never quite remember.
I've got kind of multiple books, but right. I don't necessarily claim them all to be proper books.
Okay.
Shall we say?
But you've done previous books through kind of traditional professional academic publishing routes, haven't you? And this most recent one you've done as a hybrid book through us.
Yeah. And I've done a digital book as well, and just a digital book. It's only available digitally. And I also did a self-publishing book as well.
Right. Okay.
And a picture book. I've created a picture book too. So there are multiple different varieties and flavours, all of which have been great in their own way.
So when you came to kind of thinking about the Transformational Coach, so your most recent book, that you've done with us, when you were kind of thinking about what you wanted to achieve with it, what was in your, from a kind of promotion and marketing perspective, what was it in your head that you wanted to achieve?
Well, it was Sue's questions that helped me to position it, and also yours, Paul, helped me to position it in a way that would be most useful to the people that I serve, which is coaches, and asking those questions about, so what is this, what is it you want to achieve for your business, and therefore what do you want the book to be? So although I had already started writing the book at that stage, when Sue and then you asked me that question, it did help me when I was in the editing process to think about what is this book meant to achieve for my business? How is this book going to enable me to attract more people to my business? And because so I have two strands to my business. One is selling coaching directly to corporates and to individuals, but this book is targeted at coaches who I sell to for mentor coaching and for supervision. So the book was really helping me to sell those two products.
So did you recognize very early on that where the book was going to sit in your business, and how did you kind of get a grip of that quite clearly very early on? This book is being written to perform this function for me within the business.
Yes, but not because I was asking myself that question. It was because Sue and you were asking me that question. Right. So that really helped me to get my arms around not just writing it for the love of writing it, and I do love writing, and I get a lot of clarity out of writing for myself. So it was goodness to write it from that point of view, but also then to be thinking about what is the positioning for the business as well. It's not that I've been overtly salesy in the book, but it's more about how does the content of the book fit with my business strategy and building this particular part of my business. And
do you think, Claire, that because I think what I'm hearing is that you're describing a kind of mindset shift that these questions elicited in you?
Yes.
Where you go from, here I am writing this book because I love writing and it gives me more clarity, to, okay, what actual business outcomes do I want from this book?
Yeah.
And I think when I think of my own book, I'm not sure I've made that mindset shift yet, but I want to.
Yeah.
Because you're so focused on writing the book and thinking about who your ideal reader is, that you might not necessarily at that point be thinking, what is the specific business outcome? Can you speak more about that, how that worked for you?
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of a both and, but I suppose while I was writing it, that kind of went to the back of my head, but it was still in my head.
Yeah.
Thinking about how what would enable people to buy me and my service, not just buy the book.
The book. Great.
And it seems to be working.
Good.
You seem to be buying me and buying mentor coaching and buying supervision. Yeah. More people are discovering me and those services as a result of the book.
I was quite taken by something that one of our other authors, Kate Trafford, said in an author community meeting that we had last week, and how she's in some ways struggled, but now started to get to grips with that transition between writing a book for a particular consumer and having an avatar or a person in your head while you're writing it, and then shifting that mindset into thinking, well, actually, this is now about something else. It's not about those people particularly. You still have to keep them in mind. It's quite a hard shift for people to make, isn't it? Between, on one hand, dealing very individually with a particular kind of, person, and then broadening your thinking into, how does this work in the business as a whole?
Yeah. And so for me, it's really easy to find where potential readers of my book hang out, because coaches hang out in all the same places. I know exactly where they hang out. They hang out at coaching networking events, mostly virtual, but some live. They hang out on LinkedIn. I know where they hang out, and therefore I know exactly where to spend my business development time in order to talk about the content of the book, and in doing so also connecting that to, and if you want to get some feedback on your coaching based on the content of the book, here's how you get hold of me. So it does. I heard somebody else previously say she had written, first of all, she'd written a book for coaches, and then she wrote a book for leaders. And she said it was much easier to sell the book to coaches because she knew where they hung out. Whereas leaders are so kind of dispersed and they're not hanging out outside of their organizations. So it's actually quite difficult to sell to that more, it might seem like it's a bigger target market to sell to leaders, but actually getting to them, finding out where they hang out is really difficult. So
it's the difference between this kind of mile wide, inch deep thing and kind of, an inch wide and a mile deep thing, isn't it? I mean, you've with a niche, you've got something very targeted, and it's a big group of people, but they're all in one place, and that makes life a lot easier when it comes to marketing a book, without a doubt.
Yeah, it does mean, though, for me, that, I mean, we were talking on the session last week about one of the authors was going into Waterstones and asking Waterstones to take her book. But I don't think that's a strategy for me because, I'm sure lots of coaches are going into Waterstones to buy books, but to get Waterstones to want to have it in their store is a completely different thing, because I'm not selling to that broader audience that they attract into their stores.
Yes, so and 1 in every 100 people that walk into a Waterstones is going to be interested in your book, whereas the other book that you're talking about, which I know, is probably more likely that 1 in 4 or 5. So the appeal becomes greater, and that you speak in your blog very you kind of talk about the importance of the author really getting behind the marketing of their book and taking ownership of it. Why do you think that's so important, and how have you kind of handled that?
Well, A, because you're not going to do it for me. And B, the reason you're not going to do it for me is because you don't know the content like the back of your hand, which I do. And I can talk about it authoritatively, credibly. I mean, you do know it because you've read it and you love it. I hope. But not in the same way as I love it, and the same way as I understand it, and I can answer questions about it that you wouldn't be able to answer because I'm the one who's got the depth of knowledge that went behind writing it. I've got the 22 years of experience as a coach, which I've poured into being the author of the book. So I have to take control of that. If I want it to sell, and also if I want my business to sell, it's completely down to me to do the marketing. Now, that's not to say that you don't do some great stuff for me. Like, you sent me something to share about the audio book the other day, and I'm like, oh, I love that. Thank you. And yes, I will use that. But ostensibly, it's down to me to figure out, and you did help me to think through this at the beginning, how, or where am I going to talk about this book? How do I want to position it such that it links into the business? I mean, also, for me, it is about business development. So it's back to that. I can't say that enough. But it took a while for the penny to drop for me, actually, about this business development piece. in fact, I probably didn't realise until about a year in. So I was presenting at all these webinars and podcasts and all these places where coaches hang out, and doing it all for free. And I was starting to get a little bit, I'm giving all my time for free. Grr. And then suddenly I was like, no, but hang on. This is your investment in business development. This is how you get out to the world and how your book gets out to the world. So again, it was kind of that mindset shift, Beverly, a different mindset about, oh gosh, I'm giving my time away for free all the time, to no, actually, this is business development time. And so it was well worth spending my time, even if only one person on that call buys the book. Actually, more people will know my name. They will know my products and my offerings. They will come back to me at some point because I'm being visible. So there's something about that visibility of me rather than somebody else doing it for me as well. Coming back
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you said this quite early on, didn't you? Which I kind of made a note of, which is, how am I going to invest my business development time? So you have to think of it in terms of your time investment. And as you say, it's a lot of it's going to be unpaid. And so that's kind of a little bit jarring maybe for someone who is self-employed and is in a freelance, but it's also about making sure that you curate that in a way that's going to get the maximum benefit for you. And as you've also said, people are buying you, so you have to be the one that gets out there.
Yeah. And most of the time, these webinars are for multiples of people. So I'm getting in front of multiples of people each time, rather than one-to-one. And it's the same with social media. I'm getting at, hopefully, multiples of people are reading my posts about the book, the content of the book, and the link to my business. And so it is spreading the word. And what I've noticed a year in, or more than a year in, is how much the marketing has now got a life of its own. Because those people who bought it, it might have taken them a little while to get to read it, because we all have far too many books on our bookshelves. They've now actually read the book and they're telling all their friends. And so they are doing that marketing for me. However, I still need to keep it front of mind. And every time they post something on LinkedIn, I'm there asking them, can you please write me a review on Amazon? Can you, or, what did you unlearn? So connecting with those people, asking them in some way, can you share this with all your mates, please? I realize you've done it on LinkedIn already, but can you share it wherever you go? So asking other people to do that on my behalf to the coaching communities that I haven't managed to get to yet.
Yeah, finding your brand ambassadors and sending them out there.
Yeah.
So of all the marketing you've done on the book, what's been giving you the most pleasure, what was the most surprising outcome from the marketing that you've done?
Most surprising outcome. Well, I definitely get invited to things now, whereas at the beginning I had to ask to present. So that's really lovely. What else would I say would be a surprising outcome? Just the people who come to me who I don't think I've ever met, but they know me.
Right.
And so they book on to one of my programs. And so there are more and more people now who know me when I don't know them. And they're almost willing to book on without even having a conversation, because they feel as though they've had a conversation with me through the book already.
Oh, that's lovely. So they've formed that connection with you through the book. So they kind of feel like, they know you already.
Yes, yeah. And because I wrote it in such a way that it really uses my authentic voice, I wasn't trying to be anything other than who I am. Then they know my voice. They know what I believe in. So they don't need to check that out in a conversation. They'll come straight in and book straight in.
Kind of takes away the small talk, doesn't it? And it's like, no, we know that you're the right person.
Yeah,
because we've read the book.
Yeah.
And it takes away some of the hard sell as well, doesn't it? It takes out some of that, kind of upselling and trying to move a conversation onto someone buying something, because you've got the book there kind of acting as a marketing tool for you already. It's out there, it's spreading the word, it's using your authentic voice, as you said. So you're able to bypass all of that, kind of quite tricky and quite uncomfortable kind of sales conversations to a certain extent.
Yeah. And for an introvert like me, that's a really good thing.
Yes.
Bypass those. I don't like those.
Absolutely. Don't want to make those sales calls. I'm the same.
It gives you something else to talk about other than yourself as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
One of the biggest kind of shocks to people, I think, to authors when they kind of first take on this, the book's published and then suddenly they're faced with this whole marketing and promotional bit, is the sheer amount of time that's kind of involved in it, and just how much tenacity it takes, and how have you found? I mean, you're a busy person. You've got a busy business and a busy home life. How have you managed to fit the kind of marketing of the book into your daily routine, your schedules, and make it work?
That's a good question. So when I had finished writing the book, but before it had been published, I carried on writing lots of articles to be published in magazines, coaching related magazines. So that was still writing time. So any time that I wasn't spending on writing the book, I was writing articles. So that was kind of that gap between finishing writing the book and launching the book. So I'd kind of freed up time, if you like, from the writing of the book and could spend it on writing articles. And then also getting the kind of the machine working around getting invitations to webinars or inviting myself to webinars and podcasts, etc. So, I mean, I have half a day a week to spend on business development. And so I get really clear about, okay, what is it I'm selling today, marketing? Is it one of my programs, or is it setting up some webinars for the book or some podcasts for the book, or what is it I'm trying to achieve in that half day every week? So that's how I do it, is I always have a half day every week for business development. And I always have a half day a week for writing as well.
Yeah. Okay. And the two combined just give you that space to think about the book and how it works within the business, and you can think strategically about, well, okay, is this a message that's best carried via a book ad kind of thing, or a post around the book, or is it best carried through something else?
Yeah, exactly. Or to kind of time the two together somehow. Yeah.
And it is about that seamless integration of the two parts, isn't it? That the book isn't seen as a separate entity to the business as a whole. And I think that's where a lot of authors do tend to fall down, is they see it as a product, a commercial product in itself, which is not what it's intended to be for authors and people like you. It needs to be strategically built into the heart of the business, and you need to understand where it has its power, where you can use the book as leverage. And I was really interested to hear what you just said earlier about how this has all started to become a little bit more self-fulfilling now, and that opportunities are coming to you rather than you having to reach out for them. And I think that's a really important message as well, to understand this doesn't happen overnight. This is as I always say, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and it takes time, and you have to be dedicated to the end goal to make it happen.
Yeah. And I'm now starting to think, because I'm writing the next book, I'm starting to think about, so how do I carry on marketing the transformational coach when there's a new book to also have to market? What capacity have I got for both? And I think I need to be asking myself the question, how can it be a both and rather than an either or? I mean, they are going to be companion books, so I see them as twins. Quite honestly, they're not identical twins, but I see them as twins. And so how can I promote the twins rather than promote each of the separate children? I could be talking to you about that, Paul. That'll be a new thing for me, really. I don't want to give up on this baby once she's 2, baby. But equally, I'm going to have to put a lot of effort into the new baby, and bringing home.
It's a good analogy. Yeah. You don't let one wither and die just because you've got a second one. So you have to keep nurturing it and giving it the love that it deserves if you want it to continue doing the job for you that you want it to do.
That's going to be an interesting journey in itself, isn't it, Claire? And also how one might be able to feed off the other. There might be times when you can promote both books, or maybe there will be times when you're only highlighting one but still letting your audience know that you've got the other one.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't do that with this book and my last book.
Yeah.
And I'm recognizing the downside of not doing, of letting the first book. So really I should treat them as triplets, not as
oh goodness, the family's growing rapidly. That's really interesting, because I've got a Kindle book as well that I've done nothing with for years, so I need to think about how I can bring that back into the family.
Yes.
Exactly. So it becomes much more of a cohesive business strategy.
Exactly.
I was going to ask how important you've kind of found the role of social media in all of your promotional activities, Claire. Clearly, it's a powerful tool for any author and any author business person. But some people do struggle to kind of harness it well. What's your kind of approach to social media around promoting your book and your business as a whole?
So I post something every single day. I'm very consistent with posting. It's not always about.
Do you do that organically, Claire, or do you kind of pre-schedule, or do you kind of do you have a plan, or are you quite impulsive, or?
Well, now that you can schedule, I schedule a lot, and I have, I said I have my half day for writing, so maybe once a month I'll spend half day writing and scheduling LinkedIn posts so that I've got something. So I'm scheduled at the moment until the beginning of January. So I'm well ahead, and I don't have to panic if I don't have something to write about. But always things are coming to me. Oh, that's interesting. I could post something. So I'm always writing, jotting down notes of things that have happened in mentor coaching sessions or supervision sessions, or so my real work that I could post about without breaking confidentiality. Always trying to think about what's a different way of positioning the book. But I probably do something about the book once a week. And so there is something about, what else can I say now? How can I come up with something fresh and new? So I'm always trying to figure out what the freshness is. But there's also something for me about, I was blogging when I was working inside an organization, and I was microblogging. So I've been doing that for, I don't know, 15, 20, maybe 20 years. Well, that sounds like I was right at the beginning of it. I don't think I was. Let's say 15 years. So I'm really used to putting myself out on social media. I very rarely question what I'm writing. I very rarely do much editing. I just bash it out because I'm really confident in myself and my voice. And I think that also helped me to write the books as well, that I had already found my voice by blogging. So, you know, where other people say, oh, I can't do social media, oh, it's such a chore, I don't think it's a chore at all. I really like it, but that's because I've been doing it for so long and was such an early adopter that I've kind of got over that ickiness. I had ickiness at the beginning of, really, who's going to want to read what I have to say? But I'm well past that now.
It's about maintaining that authenticity, isn't it, as well? I think, you know, I think what I find so lovely about all of your posts is that they are all very authentic. They're all written in your own voice. There's not a heavy sales. Sometimes, you know, you push a little bit harder on the sales, but generally it's not, you know, this isn't about selling something. This is about sharing ideas and experiences and enriching other people's lives rather than, and it all comes very, it always feels to me at least that it's come very much from your heart with a genuine desire to help others.
Yeah, I really like that word, enrichment. That feels like it captures what I'm trying to do, is enrich others' minds and hearts, and coaching, enrich. You know, my whole philosophy is about professionalizing us as coaches, but in a very human way. And so everything that I'm posting is about that purpose.
Yeah, it is. Again, I think it comes back to this mindset shift of just getting the book out of your head a little bit sometimes, and not always focusing on the book as a product. You know, you don't have to sell the book as a product every time.
Yeah.
You know, the book comes into the conversation, it opens doors, it creates opportunities, but it shouldn't be the focus in every post. Definitely. Yeah. Kate sent us a little question, if you don't mind. She has asked how you've gone about placing articles in publications, Claire, and do you write them and submit them, or write to a commission scope or spec? Does that make sense?
Yes. So I have been writing for magazines for a while, so I know a lot of the editors already. So before I published this book, I had already built some of those relationships. So I can go to them to say, I'm thinking about, you know, I'd like to put something in about, you know, about the book or the content of the book. And usually they're quite happy because they know me as a writer. They know, you know, what I can do. Sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. So usually I'll go to them first before writing. But there are some so there's a new publication that I just stumbled across, which is for coaches. I had never come across them before. And so I needed to understand what are their guidelines for writing. So usually you can find those on their websites. You can find their guidelines, and you can think about, well, what might I pitch for them and their audience? But I don't think generally I've written it and then submitted it. I think I've generally said, I've got this idea, I'd like to do this. And then if they don't like that idea, then I would go to a different publication and say, I've got this idea, would you like it? And somebody will pick it up, usually. I think only once or twice I've had people say, no, that's not for us. Most of them are looking for free content. Yeah. They want writers to approach them. So it's worth knowing that they're on the lookout for new content all the time, and new authors, and to kind of get over any trepidation we might have about approaching.
Yeah. I wanted to pick up on something you said while we were talking about social media, actually, and I agree. It's wonderful that you found your voice and you know that you can write from that place, from the heart, or whatever, you know, from whatever perspective you need. But I think there's another side to it, which is consistency. and the consistency, and you know, getting into the habit of writing. So even if you've written the book, you don't stop writing there. You keep writing, because I think that's what makes it easier, not only to post on social media, but to come up with ideas for articles. I mean, I've certainly found this. It's like I've been a writer for many years, but when I've got out of the habit of writing, I find it harder to start writing again. So I think there's something important in that as well.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right, is to keep the consistency. Even if it's just short.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You're still writing.
And also, like, not dismissing anything. Like, you might have a little idea or half a thought that comes into your head, and not immediately going, oh no, that won't work. But actually just going, let's just explore that and see if that's something that will be of use to the audience.
Yeah. I think we have to pay attention to those little voices.
Definitely.
Because sometimes it'll flit in and then we'll get busy with something else and it'll fly straight out again. So
yeah, exactly. Don't think, oh, it's fine. I'll remember that. I'll write that later, because you won't.
No, you've got to write it down immediately that you have the idea. Yeah.
And Claire, have you kind of buddied up with other authors or other people in your space, not necessarily authors, you know, to try and leverage the power of your network and you know, and to get the help from other people to you know, achieve your objectives around marketing a book?
So I'm very happy and willing to publicize other people's books, particularly in our little network of people that we know. Kate, for example, I've done that for her in the last couple of days. But
she's done it on here as well today, I have to say. She's put a little link up in your book on Amazon, which is
there we go. So you know, we can reciprocate. Also, so with William, for example, something William Buist I'm talking about here. So something came up in a supervision session, and it was all to do with mastery. And actually, they started using the word intentional. And William's book is called Intentional Mastery, as you know. And so I decided that as it was our last session, I would actually buy each of the 5 of them a copy of his book. So that, you know, we can definitely be looking, if we know each other's books, and for me, I do need to know somebody's book to be able to recommend it. So I have to have read it. I won't recommend things unless I've read them. But we can definitely do that for each other. And there are so many great books out there. And actually, the other thing that I've realized since I've been trying to get as many Amazon reviews as possible for my book is I've realized that every time I read a book, I am committed to writing an Amazon review for that person, because I know that that's going to raise the game, or, you know, the algorithms on Amazon. So I feel like if I'm asking for that from other people, especially people I don't know, then I need to do that for other authors, even the authors I don't know, but whose books I've enjoyed. So I will, you know, do that kind of thing as well. Hoping that the universe will return the favor to me.
Have you reached the magic 50 yet?
I have.
Hey, well done.
I'm at 53 reviews.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well done.
Yeah. But still trying to get more, because I suspect there are
keep current. Yeah. And it's interesting, this power of kind of working with other people to help you to promote your book, because I think it's an opportunity that a lot of authors miss. You know, there's power in the generosity of reciprocal arrangements and being willing to, even with, you know, people that are directly competing with you in your own space, you know, the opportunity of widening your reach to a whole new audience or a whole new segment of your audience through being supportive and kind and willing to other people is often very powerful. It only takes one opportunity one time, you know, and suddenly, you know, there's a flood of new opportunities coming your way. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, we're going to be coming to the end soon, so I don't know if anybody's got any questions, if they're watching live here and they want to ask Claire a question before we do wrap up in the next few minutes, then pop that up on the chat thing and we'll try and get to those. Bev, was there anything else you wanted to ask Claire at this point at all?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you already had your business offerings when you were marketing the book. Is there any advice you could give someone like me who wants to build something off the back of the book that doesn't already exist?
Talk to Kate, because so I haven't built anything new really. I thought about bundling up modules of training that related to the book, but honestly, training is not, I mean, it used to be my sweet spot. I did training all the time, but it's not what I want in my life and my business. So I decided, no, that's not a route that I want to take. But having said that, if an organization comes to me and wants something for their internal coaches, then there's certainly the possibility to do something along those lines, where creating masterclasses, for example, that are based on some of the content of the book. I suppose so there have been a small amount of book clubs who've asked me to come along to their book club debriefs, and there's one in particular that is going to kind of space out the reading of the book, which feels like it's going to give people lots of time to digest what's in the book, which is really important actually, because this book is not one to rush through.
No,
it's definitely one to savor and pick a bit and to work on it and then come back to the next bit. I'm not sure that I'm answering your question now. I think I'm digressing, but what I noticed there is this series of sessions that the book club is going to run based on the content of the book.
That is actually really helpful, because I hadn't even thought about book clubs.
There we go.
But also it's kind of sparks another idea about the way that you can maybe do some kind of group work, working through a book, which would work with my book as well.
Yeah.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
So Claire, just to tie up, I mean, if there was one piece of advice that you would give to someone in your position, what's the number one thing you think that you've learned over the course of this past year, and with your previous experiences of other books, what's that number one tip, do you think, that comes to your head?
It's definitely about tying marketing the book in with marketing your business, and start business first and then work back from there to using the book to market the business.
I think you might have answered Bev's question a bit there as well, her earlier question, because I think there's a point there, isn't there, Bev, that maybe what you need to do is start with the business and work out how
work it back. Definitely.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely taking away, make sure you schedule time for business development.
Yes.
And writing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've had a comment from Brenda Baird, who I think you probably know, Claire.
Hello, Brenda.
Yeah. So Brenda says that she refers to your book in all of her mentor groups.
Amazing.
She says thank you for your wisdom, Claire. So that's really nice. And thank you for joining us today. It's been really kind of you to give up your lunch time today to share what you've learned. I am going to quickly just give a little plug for your book, which is this one, The Transformational Coach. It is available to order. I'm told that these aren't particularly easy to read, so I'm going to improve that for next time. But it does say on there that it's available to order now from your favourite book retailer. You can get it from our website as well, which is writebookpress.com. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in anything that Claire's spoken about today and would like to see the book or read a copy, then yeah, pop along and buy one. You can find out more about Clare and her work and her book at her website, which is clarenormancoachingassociates.com. And also you'll be able to find Clare on LinkedIn very easily. And I'm sure she's always willing to entertain a chat if you want to get in touch.
Yep.
And if you're interested in working with us, the Right Book Company, you've got a book idea or you're just thinking about it, then we'd love to hear from you. You can get in touch with us through our website, which is therightbookcompany.com. If your thinking is relatively advanced, then why not book a discovery call with one of our team? We'd love to have a chat to you about the book that you're planning and seeing how we can help you to bring that to reality as well. So it just leaves me to again say thank you to Clare and thank you to Bev for supporting me and helping me today. We will wish Sue a speedy recovery and hopefully she'll be back for the next one of these soon. And thank you to everybody that's posted a question or a comment today. That's really kind of you and we do appreciate it. And we'll see you back here for another Power Lunch some point in the future.
See you all. Thank you very much. Thanks, Clare.
Thank you. Bye-bye.